Do you need to wait 6 weeks after delivery to start working out? I'm going to explain my opinion on why I think you do not need to wait 6 weeks until you can start working out after having a baby, because there's a lot of myths around this and misconceptions. And why do they actually tell you to wait 6 weeks anyway? First and foremost, I want to clarify that the 6-week mark to actually wait to work out or anything after having a baby is a guideline. There is no clear-cut answers. It is just a simple wait 6 weeks because it takes 6 weeks for your uterus to go back to its normal size. But even that still takes longer than 6 weeks, okay? So let's just clear that up as far as what actually is true and what actually is by the book and what you should follow as somebody who is eager to get back to working out as soon as you have a baby. Readiness varies from each and every woman, right? So if you are somebody who's never worked out a day in your life and you choose to start working out postpartum, maybe you wait 6 weeks, right? Maybe you wait for your tissues and everything to heal. Maybe you wait for your body to feel like it's back at its kind of normal plot, right? Or your normal starting point. However, if you are somebody who, like myself, a physical therapist, a personal trainer, somebody who really, really loves fitness, has been an athlete their whole life, then maybe waiting 6 weeks is not realistic for you because you've been an athlete your whole life and you've worked out your whole life, and working out is your sanity, right? So 6 weeks seems crazy for you to wait. You might be likely to start earlier and have an easier time with that because you're somebody who's already been through the ringer. You've already done all of the steps. You've been an athlete. You've done a lot of the work already. Your body knows how to work out, and you will be much more advanced to be able to go back and work out in those earlier 6 weeks. So what I'm saying is that if you have experience with working out, yes, you can work out earlier than that 6 week mark. If you have never worked out a day in your life and you chose to do it now postpartum, then I would say, yeah, definitely you should probably wait and then get guidance from your doctor and make sure that it's okay for you to start a workout program. If you're somebody who is working with us, a physical therapist or even a pelvic floor physical therapist, I would recommend working closely with that person so that way they know your goals, they know your history, they know your medical history, they know your birth history, they know everything, so that way they can create a plan that is tailored to you to get started earlier than that 6 weeks. So that way you feel like you're doing something that is prescribed for you, given where you are in your current circumstances. You know, maybe the bleeding has stopped. Maybe you don't have any aches and pains. You don't have any signs and symptoms. You might be more advanced than the person next to you who also wants to work out, but maybe is still having some spotting. Maybe they have back pain. Maybe they have some leakage, right? Their program's going to look different than what your program should look like because you're a little bit more advanced, right? Than the person who has aches and pains. And if you are somebody who has aches and pains during that initial 6 weeks or even 2 months, 3 months, 5 months postpartum, then I absolutely would recommend working with a pelvic floor physical therapist. Reach out to me if you need extra guidance because they're going to be able to actually create a plan for you that will be guided around the idea of you are having symptoms. You are not 100% A-okay to just resume a normal by the book PDF digital workout program. You need something a little bit more specific to you to reduce all of those symptoms so then you can get back to doing the activities that you love to do. However, I definitely recommend wherever you are in your journey to start slow. Rebuild that foundation of the core and the pelvic floor and the smaller stabilizer muscle groups that are surrounded by the pelvis. Always, always, always start with that. Start with the gentle breathing. Start with the core and pelvic floor muscle activation, relaxation. Feel that mind to muscle connection. Work on that technique. Feel those muscles learn to contract again, and then resume a normal strength conditioning program. Your bigger compound movements like squats and deadlifts and overhead shoulder press and bench press, because you're actually going to get more bang for your buck in terms of when you rebuild the foundation and then you go back into those compound lifts. Everything's going to feel a little bit more normal because you feel like, okay, I can activate my core, I can activate my hip flexors, I feel my glutes firing. Whereas if you just kind of jump to it and you just get started squatting again, everything's going to feel kind of different, out of whack. Maybe there's compensatory patterns. You don't even feel the big muscle groups working. So I always recommend starting with something that's going to rebuild that foundation. And then lastly is just listening to those recovery cues, right? So making sure that you're not having excess bleeding or your bleeding increases when you start working out, even if this is earlier than 6 weeks, right? Making sure that bleeding is the guide. Symptoms are the guide. You're looking for signs that your body is literally telling you, screaming at you, hey, this is too much. I'm not ready for this. Yada, yada, right? Like you have to use your body cues as a way of like your readiness, because otherwise your mind, the athlete brain is always going to win because you're going to feel fine, right? Until those physical symptoms or restrictions start to show up, you're just going to keep pushing. So always, always, always listen to your body as the guide if you're going to get started with this early 6 weeks training. I actually have an entire program that's based around those first early 6 weeks of programming, right? So if you want to get started moving week 1 after delivery and you either had a vaginal delivery or a C-section delivery, we have an entire program that gives you new exercises week by week that is built like based around the idea of rebuilding that foundation. So it's built from me and my team for women who really want to get moving, but really have no clear guidance on what rebuilding that foundation is. What does that even mean? How do you even activate the core? How do you breathe correctly? How do you activate and relax the pelvic floor? That's the things that you're going to learn in our 6-week program. That's a digital download, or it's a digital app in your phone, and you'll be able to follow it word for word and like exercise by exercise week to week, where each week you'll get new exercises as you progress from week 1, gentle breathing, just maybe some stretches, into week 6 where you're actually using resistance bands and really loading the core and pelvic floor. And then when you're done with your 6 weeks, then that's where you would resume your normal programming. So it's not something you need to continue for a long, long time. You can use it again, baby, number 2, number 3, right? You have it indefinitely. But when you get back to your normal routine, you're going to feel a lot more solid in your foundation. So you have better strength and better coordination and better mind to muscle connection when you get back into your squats and deadlifts and things like that. We literally created it as that preventative program to really reestablish that foundation, that core connection, so that way you don't have to have these symptoms that then, which I see all the time, show up later in postpartum, right? They show up month 6, month 12 when you get back to running and jumping and all of these things because you didn't rebuild that foundation from the get-go. So if you don't have a physical therapist in your area, if you don't have somebody that you're working with and you want something that's just kind of, I don't know what to do, but I really need something, then that 6-week program is for you. I'll link it down below. And as always, if you have any questions on the 6-week timeline, what that guideline actually means, what it looks like, then go ahead and send me a message on Instagram, on social media, whatever, or comment below, and I would love to be able to help.